Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here, ready to stroll through the garden of techie and nerdy delights. It was 70 degrees on Thursday, and we had 5 inches of snow over the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Chicago weather. But for now, it's time to pull out your credit cards and make Uncle Sam a happy boy because it is tax day, April 15th, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. First, we had the Spruce Goose, Howard Hughes' birch-built monstrosity. Now we have the Strato launch, and we're starting off our week with a decent name for a change. And speaking of which, our poll just ended, and 45% of you agreed that the Oppo Reno 10X Zoom Edition was the worst name from last week, beating out Symphonisk and WandaVision. Thanks for playing. Now, back to the plane. The Strato launch is the world's largest airplane with a wingspan of 385 feet, which, as our newsletter points out, is longer than a football field, but even that doesn't do it justice, because after catching a ball at the very back of the end zone and running all the way to the end of the other end zone, you would still need to jog down the tunnel, past the steroid table, past the bouncer who checks the coats and the automatic weapons, and go all the way into the locker room to get to the other tip of this wing. That's pretty big. This plane is so big that it has 2 cockpits, although only one of them is used. The other one isn't even pressurized, and let that be a lesson to you kiddies. Never let sense get in the way of good design. The plane has 6 Pratt & Whitney jet turbines and 28 wheels, and it's able to tote a 550,000-pound payload. The flight lasted for 2 hours and 29 minutes at an altitude of about 15,000 feet. It tooled along at a cool 189 miles per hour over the Mojave Desert and came to a nice, soft landing. All of this is really cool. Plus, it was commissioned by the late Paul G. Allen, Microsoft's other founder. Yes, there were 2. Paul passed away before he could see his dream come to fruition, I'm sorry to say. But why did he want this built? Was it just a rich boy fantasy? Well, if we're being totally honest, maybe. But this plane does have a purpose, and it can be found in the name. The Strato launch is exactly that. This plane was designed to make launching satellites into low Earth orbits less expensive. The plane could handle up to 3 rockets carrying satellites, fly up to 35,000 feet, and then blast them off. It's a similar approach to SpaceX's reusable rocket boosters, but this is a gigantic freaking airplane, and unlike some other private launch platforms, this one landed perfectly on the first try. Just saying, Elon, the gauntlet has been thrown. Unfortunately, like so many dreams, the death of the dreamer has caused a scale back in this project. There aren't a lot of customers out there looking to launch low-orbit satellites. Honestly, the most likely customer, well, they already have a private space agency with reusable launch vehicles. So, was this flight the first and only? Time will tell. Call it 50-50 for now, but it is a remarkable feat of engineering, and it certainly has potential. But for now, it is a waiting game, and you know what we like to do while we wait around here, and it's called the Roundup! First, a programming note. We asked whether or not you wanted a special edition podcast review of Avengers Endgame on Saturday, April 27th, and up until this weekend it was yes all the way, but we've crept into no territory with only 1 day left in the poll. I dropped a link to the poll in the show notes, so get out there and vote. Personally, I'm good either way, because either way I get to watch the movie. OnePlus looks to launch its next flagship in just under a month on May 14th. What's still unknown is whether or not we'll get the 5G model at the same time. OnePlus's next phone also looks to have some kind of pop-up selfie camera, although whether that's a slider mechanism, a pop-up camera, or even a shark fin also remains a mystery. Oppo and OnePlus are cousins, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a shark fin here, or even a 5x optical camera. Either way, we'll find out in May, and then we'll play. What do you say? Sometimes being too tapped into technology around the world can have bad side effects, like this feature that Tristan from the newsletter team wrote for Android Authority, in which he points out that 5G is going to be great because it will open numerous doors into accessibility and availability of apps and services. But it will also be terrible because it will open numerous doors into privacy and security for our personal devices. And it's already happening. Tristan cites numerous examples, but to me, the most chilling is a company called Lendo that uses thousands of factors of your personal smartphone use, such as battery life, to help determine credit scores. That's right, if you don't charge your phone regularly, that means you have trouble planning ahead and will likely default on a loan. And go f yourself, Lendo. Meanwhile, John Callahan on the Digit team wrote an opinion piece detailing why he'd be ditching Netflix for Disney Plus this coming November. He cites rising prices for Netflix while at the same time dropping quality of original programming, and I can't argue with either one of those. I would also add to that the fact that very few Netflix original series make it past 3 seasons. From the entirety of the Marvel shows to Travelers to Sense8, none of those shows made it past season 4, and that's really frustrating. Stranger Things is entering its 3rd season, so I hope those folks are working on their resumes. Time will tell, of course, on the Disney side, but I stand by my position that the only reason I'd keep Netflix is because I get it free through T-Mobile. So for this next story, I'm just going to come out and say it. Tesla is kind of a mess of a company. On Thursday, Tesla announced that the cheapest model of a Tesla Model 3 would no longer be available to purchase online. So a New York Times reporter decided to find out how hard it would be to buy it. The reporter ran into a number of issues, but the biggest problem that Tesla has is that its selling price for cars still reflects this generic after savings price. You can't see it, but I'm making air quotes, which we've touched on before. You see, Tesla advertises the cost of a car to be around $28,000, but that's after a tax credit and after an estimate on the mileage that you'll drive around without having to buy gas. You actually have to pay Tesla $39,000, and how is this legal? This is one of the most deceptive sales practices I've seen a company make and get away with it, and frankly, I'm not a fan. Tesla is rapidly using up its awesome points with crap like this and with the constant changing of policies. Tesla's basically the movie pass of car companies, but at least with Tesla, you get a car. And finally, have you been on board an aircraft in the last 12 months? Well, then you're no longer welcome here, bucko. I'm kidding. We love all of our listeners, but that is a conversation that you might actually hear if you live in Sweden. It seems fly shaming is becoming a thing there as citizens become more and more aware of fossil fuel burning and its global impact. Passengers on airplanes in Sweden have been dropping consistently for the past 7 months, while at the same time, train travel has been on the rise. Now, we're going to put aside the fact that trains burn fossil fuels too, but still, there's an active push in Sweden to start bringing more eco-friendly means of transport to the country. And I get it, fossil fuels are bad, but I mean, people have to fly. What they don't need are people looking down their noses at them when they land. And at the same time, they can ask themselves, as a society, do I need to be there, or can we have this work meeting over Slack? So that is going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and be sure to tell all your friends about DigitDailyPod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.